Hello everyone. Today I'm going to tell you a true story. I'm the main character in this story, and I've waited a long time to share what happened to me. Because you know what they say, revenge is a dish best served cold, and I learned exactly what patience means. This story is about how my 12-year career suddenly exploded in my face, and how I made an incredible comeback afterward. If you've ever been wronged at work, if you feel like your efforts haven't been appreciated, this story is for you. My name is Michael Thompson. I'm 46 years old, and when this story began, I was the accounting manager at Technovision, a major tech company in Melbourne. For 12 whole years, I handled all the financial operations of this company. Every dollar, every invoice, every payment. I controlled it all. When I started at Technovision, the company was just a small firm with 30 employees. Now it's a massive company with 500 people. And me? I was still sitting in the same office, at the same desk. But no one knew the company's financial history better than I did. Every quarter, I'd explain the systems to new managers and help them adapt. They'd leave, I'd stay. I'm married with 2 kids. My wife, Sarah, is a teacher. My son, Jake, is at university, and my daughter, Emma, is in her final year of high school. Just an ordinary Aussie family. Stability was crucial for us. That's why I never risked my position at Technovision. I turned down offers from competing firms. Loyalty. What a naive concept that turned out to be. For 12 years, there were days I worked without taking any leave. I'd even come in on weekends to handle monthly closings. Before board meetings, I'd work nights preparing presentations. Thanks to me, we never had financial problems, never got tax penalties, never had issues during audits. That's when everything started to change, 8 months ago. The company founder's son, James Harrison, joined the board of directors. He was 32, had an MBA from overseas, and was full of modern management concepts. In his first meeting, he started using words like digital transformation, efficiency optimization, and cost-cutting. In James Harrison's eyes, I was an old-school accountant. I didn't know enough about modern ERP systems, and instead of working with spreadsheets, I should be using cloud-based solutions. Of course, he didn't say this to my face, but it was obvious from his looks and comments in meetings. Then James brought in an outside consultant, Ryan Mitchell. 28 years old, brilliant career background, every kind of success story on his LinkedIn profile. He started work with the title Financial Operations Consultant. His job was supposedly to review financial processes and modernize them. When we first met, Ryan was very polite. "Michael, mate, I want to learn from your experience. No one knows this company's financial history better than you do. Please help me out," he said. I naively trusted him. I explained all the systems, showed him the files, taught him the processes in detail. 3 months later, I started to notice. I wasn't being invited to certain meetings anymore. When financial decisions were being made, my opinion wasn't sought. They went directly to Ryan. I started being removed from email groups. My access permissions were restricted. One day, during my routine audits, I noticed something strange. Over a 3-month period, payments had been made to a company I'd never seen before. The company name was Digital Solutions Pty Ltd. Monthly consulting fees of $15,000 were being paid. What was strange? I had no information about this company, and the payments were being approved directly by Ryan, bypassing our accounting department. Curious, I researched the company. Digital Solutions Pty Ltd. had been established just 6 months earlier with a virtual office address. It didn't even have a website. But the most surprising part was that one of the company's partners was Ryan Mitchell's brother, Marcus Mitchell. That night, at home, I thought about it. Could this be a coincidence? Maybe I was being paranoid, but my accountant's instincts were telling me something else. It was time to dig deeper. In the following weeks, using night shifts as an excuse, I conducted more detailed investigations in the systems, and what I found shocked me. Besides Digital Solutions Power Ltd., payments had been made to 3 different consulting firms over the past 6 months, a total of $51,000 per month. None of these companies provided any real services. They were all shell companies, set up on paper with virtual addresses. And worse yet, the invoices created for these payments could be fake. GST rates were miscalculated. There were inconsistencies in ABN numbers. But most importantly, all these payments were made bypassing normal accounting procedures. So who was behind this? Could Ryan Mitchell do this alone? Or was he part of a bigger game? To find the answer, I needed to go deeper. And what I found during that investigation wasn't just financial irregularities. It was part of a much bigger plan. I managed to access James Harrison's emails. Yes, I know it's not ethical, but sometimes big wars require breaking small rules. And what I found there was truly horrifying. From emails between James and Ryan, I understood that the purpose wasn't just to steal money from the company. The real plan was to fire me and completely take control of the financial department. This way, they could continue their irregularities more comfortably. In one email, James wrote, "Michael needs to go. As long as he's here, we can't move freely. Dad's friendship only goes so far. Business is business." Ryan's response was even more irritating. "Don't worry, we have a plan. First, we'll corner him. Then either he'll resign or we'll fire him, under the pretext of modernizing the financial department." That night, sitting at home reading these emails, I had a strange feeling inside. My 12 years of hard work, loyalty, day and night efforts, all of it was being dismissed. And beyond that, they weren't just firing me, they were also robbing the company. Because I knew their plans, I was prepared. But the blow still hurt. One Monday morning, James Harrison called me to his office. Ryan and HR manager Helen were also inside. James had a fake, sad expression on his face. "Michael," he said, "this conversation is very difficult for me. But our company is entering a new era. We're going to completely digitize our financial department. In this process, your position has become unnecessary." I smiled inwardly. I was prepared for this conversation. "I understand," I said calmly. "What about my redundancy payment and other entitlements?" "Of course, everything you're entitled to will be paid," Helen said. "Also, as James's special gesture, an additional compensation is being considered." The offered amount was genuinely generous, double my normal redundancy payment. But of course, it had a price. "For this compensation, you just need to sign a small agreement," Ryan said. "Standard clauses like protection of company secrets, non-compete agreements." I reviewed the agreement. It wasn't standard at all. It included clauses that I couldn't make any statements against the company, couldn't talk about financial records anywhere. It was an agreement designed to completely silence me. "I need to think about it," I said. "Michael," James said with a hardening voice, "this is really a very generous offer. I wouldn't recommend refusing it." At that moment, I understood. This wasn't an offer, it was a threat. That evening at home, my wife Sarah and I had a long talk. I explained the situation to her. Of course, without going into too much detail about the irregularities. Sarah is a practical woman. "Michael," she said, "you've been working at this company for 12 years. Don't give up your rights. But at the same time, don't put yourself in danger. We have 2 children, a mortgage." She was right. But a voice inside me said I shouldn't give up so easily. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the computer, reviewing the evidence I had. Financial irregularities, fake invoices, shell companies. All of these were crimes that could bankrupt Technovision. And that's when an idea occurred to me. What if I used this evidence as my weapon? The next day, I went to James's office. He thought I had come to sign the agreement. "I've made my decision," I said. "But first, I want to show you something." I opened my laptop and showed the presentation I had prepared. The first slide read, "Technovision Financial Analysis. Confidential." The color drained from James's face. "What is this?" "A detailed analysis of the last 6 months' financial records," I said calmly. "Digital Solutions Pty Ltd. Strategy Consulting Pty Ltd. Innovation Group Ltd. I have very interesting findings about these companies." Ryan started sweating. "The common point of all these companies," I continued, "is that none of them show any real activity. But they've received a total of $720,000 from Technovision." This is outrageous," James shouted. "Examining company records without permission is a crime." "I've been the accounting manager of this company for 12 years, I said, smiling. "Examining financial records is part of my job, and what I found is very interesting." Silence had fallen over the room. "Now," I said, "you have 2 options. Either I sign this agreement and forget this information, or—" "Or what?" James asked. "Or I send these documents to the Australian Taxation Office, ASIC, and the local press. Which do you think is more sensible?" The 30 minutes in that room were among the most tense moments of my life. James had turned red, shouted, tried to threaten. Ryan had gone completely silent. Finally, James calmed down. "What do you want?" "Very simple," I said. "I want to continue my job. Payments to these fake companies stop immediately, and Ryan's consulting contract is terminated." "This is impossible," Ryan said. "Then I prefer to go to the ATO," I said, standing up. "Wait," James said. "Let's talk." A long negotiation process began. Finally, we reached this agreement. I would continue my job, but I would be promoted from accounting manager to financial director position. My salary would increase by 50%. Ryan's contract would be terminated. Payments to fake companies would stop. In return, I would forget about this matter and not tell anyone anything. At first glance, I seemed to have won. But what I felt wasn't victory. These people had tried to deceive me, to fire me from my job, and they were robbing the company. I had only been able to stop them by threatening. But the real problem was, these types of people don't give up easily. Ryan was gone, but James remained, and he now saw me as an enemy. And that's exactly what happened. For the next 3 months, James did everything he could to sabotage me. He would interrupt me in meetings, question my decisions. He would speak against me in new employee hirings, trying to weaken my team. But I was prepared now. I was documenting everything, every conversation, every email, every behavior. I was recording it all. And more importantly, I was following James's new plans. Because these types of people don't give up. He would definitely find a new way. And he really did. 4 months later, James presented a new efficiency report to the company's senior management. This report stated that the company's financial department was creating too much cost, and costs could be reduced by 40% by outsourcing accounting services. And guess which company would provide this service? Financial Solutions Group, a consulting firm with unknown owners. This time, I was more careful. I immediately researched Financial Solutions Group, and what I found was as I expected. The company was established 2 months ago, virtual address, no employees. But the most interesting part was that one of the company's founding partners was James Harrison's university friend, David Wilson. This time they were playing bigger. They weren't content with just stealing small amounts with fake invoices. By outsourcing the entire financial department, they would both fire me and gain full access to Technovision's financial data. That evening, I stayed alone in the office. I managed to access James's computer. Yes, I know it's not ethical, but I've been managing the company's security systems for 12 years. I have the admin passwords. And what I found there really shocked me. This wasn't just about firing me. It was part of a much bigger plan. From email exchanges between James and David, I understood that the plan was this. First, they would outsource the financial department to Financial Solutions Group. Then they would gain control of all of Technovision's financial data. They would control the company's bank accounts. And after that, they would systematically rob Technovision from the inside. Fake projects, phantom expenses, inflated invoices, they would do it all, but this time on a much larger scale. The most shocking part was this. James wasn't the only one behind this plan. The company's HR manager, Helen, sales manager, Peter, and even some board members were involved in this. They would eat Technovision from the inside, bankrupt the company, then buy its assets cheap and start a new company. That night I sat at home thinking. This was no longer just about my job. A company with 500 people would go bankrupt, hundreds of families would be victimized, and I would be responsible because I could have prevented it but didn't. I told my wife Sarah the situation, this time in detail. "Michael," she said, "this is very dangerous. These people are playing with millions. They'll do anything to silence you." She was right. But there was no turning back now. "Sarah," I said, "for 12 years, I've ensured this company's financial security. Now I need to protect it." That night I made my plan. But this time I wouldn't threaten James. I would choose a much more effective way. The next day I hired an outside lawyer, an experienced lawyer specializing in financial crimes. I showed him all the evidence. "This is very serious," the lawyer said. "With these documents, you can file criminal complaints with ASIC, the ATO, and the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions." "That's exactly what I want to do," I said. But first, I needed to warn the company, both legally and ethically. I made an appointment with Robert Harrison, the founder of Technovision, James's father, but I hoped he was acting without his knowledge. Meeting with Robert Harrison was really difficult. So much so that even as I write this, my hands are shaking. I showed him all the evidence. The financial irregularities, fake invoices, the big heist they were planning, everything. I'll never forget Robert's face. First shock, then sadness, then anger. I saw it all in that old man's eyes. "My son," he murmured. "My son is robbing the company." "I'm sorry," I said, "but you needed to know." There was a long silence. "Michael," he finally said, "you did absolutely the right thing. But how do we handle this?" "We have two options," I said. "Either you immediately fire James and his team and this stays internal, or I apply to the authorities and this becomes a court matter." Robert thought about it. "Give me 24 hours, he said. Those 24 hours were the longest day of my life. I didn't know what would happen. Robert might try to protect his son, or he might really do the right thing. The next morning, there was strange activity at the company. Security guards were everywhere. I saw James being escorted out of his office with contempt. Helen and Peter followed behind. At 10 a.m., an email came to all staff, titled Management Changes. It stated that James Harrison, Helen Davis, and Peter Collins had been terminated. In the afternoon, Robert called me. "Michael, I turned my son into the police myself," he said. "It was the right thing to do." Even then, I still couldn't believe it. It had really happened. The following months were like a movie. James and his team, were arrested. Financial crimes, fraud, aggravated fraud. They faced many charges. The court process lasted 8 months. I was also called as a witness. All my documents and evidence went into the file. In the end, James got 4 years in prison. Ryan got 3 years. The others got sentences between 2 and 3 years. Most of the stolen money was recovered. I'm now the financial director at Technovision. Robert even put me on the board of directors. The company is stronger and cleaner than before. But most importantly, no one calls me an old accountant anymore. Because everyone knows that I don't just count money. I also protect the company. Why did I tell you this story? Because sometimes in life we face injustice. Sometimes powerful people crush us, belittle us. But remember, the quietest people are sometimes the strongest. For 12 years I worked quietly. I listened to everyone, showed respect to everyone. But when they belittled me, when they put the company in danger, that's when I showed my true face. There are lessons I learned from what I experienced. 1. Always document. Whatever you're doing, keep records. This can be very useful to you in the future. 2. Be patient. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Don't rush. Wait for the right time. 3. Trust in justice. What's right wins sooner or later, but you have to fight for it. 4. Don't underestimate anyone. That quiet employee, that ordinary accountant, that invisible person, maybe they're the most critical person in the company. 5. Honesty always wins. It may be difficult in the short term, but in the long term, honesty always prevails. Today, I work as financial director at Technovision. The company is more transparent, more secure. We have new employees, new projects. James is in prison. Sometimes I feel sorry for him. He was a young man with potential, but greed destroyed him. Ryan is also serving his sentence. I don't feel sorry for him, frankly. He had acted like a friend to me, then stabbed me in the back. You know what the most satisfying part of this whole story is? It's not that James got what he deserved. It's not even that I got promoted and got a raise. The most satisfying part is that I saved Technovision. 500 people still have their jobs because I stood up when it mattered. Hundreds of families are secure because I chose to fight rather than walk away quietly. Sometimes people ask me if I regret anything. Do I regret not just taking the money and walking away? Do I regret putting myself and my family through all that stress? The answer is no, not for a second. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the money or the position or even the justice. It's about who you are when no one's looking. It's about what you do when you have the power to make a difference. James thought he could push around the quiet accountant. He thought I was just some old guy who wouldn't fight back. He learned the hard way that the person who seems the least threatening might just be the most dangerous. And that's the lesson I want to leave you with. In this life, treat everyone with respect. You never know who might be watching, who might be documenting, who might have the power to bring your whole world crashing down. Be careful who you underestimate. The person counting your money might just be counting your sins, too. It's been 2 years since all this happened. James is still in prison, probably will be for another 2 years. Sometimes I wonder what he thinks about during those long days behind bars. Does he regret his choices? Does he understand now that his greed cost him everything? Ryan got out on parole last month. I heard he's working at a small accounting firm in Perth now. Good luck to him, I guess. We all deserve a second chance. As for me, I'm thriving. Technovision is doing better than ever. We've expanded to 3 more cities, hired 200 more people. And I'm proud to say that our financial systems are rock solid. But you know what I'm most proud of? The fact that when it counted, when everything was on the line, I chose to do the right thing. Not the easy thing, not the safe thing, but the right thing. And in the end, that made all the difference. Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, patience, documentation, and integrity. Those three things can move mountains. Until next time, this is Michael Thompson, reminding you that sometimes the quiet ones are the ones you should fear the most. Cheers.